Okay, I'm trying to see what's happening here. Okay, 1 second. Good afternoon, Harlem and Harlems of the world. I am Terri Wisdom, and this is Harlem Network News. Harlem Network News is a new media platform. It started at the onset of COVID, and it has truly been an incredible journey. Harlem Network News is on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And we Harlem have everything that you can imagine in terms of actually doing everything that we need for the community. I have here with us Brother Bob Law, and we're having a little bit of an echo, so I'm just going to see what's happening and just make sure. Okay, thank you very much. I'm not sure what's going on. Okay, all right, so we ended that echo. I am Terri Wisdom. This is Harlem Network News, and I'm here with Brother Bob Law. And Brother Bob Law is a longtime media person, broadcast activist. He's currently on WBAI every Saturday morning at 11 on Street Talk. And I'm just going to let Brother Bob Law know whose he is and who he is, okay? So if you would just share with our Harlem Network News a little bit about your background, how you got into this media broadcasting, and why it's been so important. A lot of us remember Night Talk and so many of the other, programs. You're an icon.
Well, that's the whole story. You just gave it. We can just begin. I got into radio in the early 1970s, and I was working at WWRL in New York. It was it is one of the legacy Black radio stations in the country, and it was one of the major Black radio stations in the country in the 1970s. That was back during the glory days of Black music radio, very different than what is on the air now. But I got into radio as a public affairs director, and found out that that's where I was supposed to have been all the time. Prior to that, I was a graphic designer, working as an art director. I'd gone to high school. I went to the High School of Art and Design, Pratt Institute, all studying advertising, marketing, and graphic design. But when I got into radio, there was like something on the inside that was triggered. And you said, well, this is where I was supposed to have been all the time. Okay. And so I did radio. I did music radio for the most of that career, and then went to Night Talk for the National Black Network. And Night Talk was the first nationally broadcast Black call-in show in the country. And Night Talk did some really remarkable things. The Night Talk audience did some really remarkable things. But that's a whole different story altogether.
Okay.
But I was already very much engaged in the activism by that time. I came out of the Black arts movement, the Black consciousness movement, started like with everybody else in the 60s as a civil rights activist, working with Brooklyn Core, the Congress of Racial Equality, then working with young people who were in SNCC and the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. We were all engaged in this struggle for equal justice, voting rights, integration, and that evolved into Black consciousness, the Black arts movement, the Black power movement, and it's like I say, that's a whole other story. We'd be here all day.
Yes, we would be here all day. And for those of you who are just joining, I am Terri Wisdom, and this is Harlem Network News. And we consider ourselves the voice and the drumbeat of Harlem. And I have a night talk story, and I'm gonna just make it brief, but this is, I don't know if it's 20 years ago or more, but my niece, there was a situation in the public schools where her hand was slammed in a door, and we really weren't getting justice about it. And at that time,
Remember that
councilperson Bill Perkins, he was the head of school board District 4. And I just know that you, Brother Bob Law, and Night Talk made an extreme difference for my niece. Her name is Lamiria Alawode L, and she's doing great things today, a vice president for United Way, but she made a difference and helped save her life, and people from all over the country were calling and sending money and helping, and that truly made a difference. So thank you for that. Okay, so we're gonna fast forward to now, and I know that you had an incredible press conference at the Abyssinian Baptist Church, and that was earlier this week. And it's interesting because, I listened to your show yesterday and at 11, and you spoke about the press conference. And then I also listened, I didn't listen at 5 o'clock this morning, but I listened to the rebroadcast of your show on gospel and the impact of gospel on our movement and the community. But I just want to share that I was listening to church virtually, Abyssinian Baptist Church, of which I am a member. But it shows how the church can help and bring the information. Today in church, we had our junior senator, Gillibrand was there and really preached. And it's the most passionate that I've seen her be. We had, which was amazing, we had the Honorable Congressman Charles Rangel was in church. Our new state senator Cordell Clear was in church. State assembly person Inez Dickens was in church. The commanding officer of the 32nd precinct was in church. And of course, District Attorney Alvin Bragg. So this is all happening, and it's the news coming through the church. And I also, before you share a bit about the press conference and your position and stance for supporting Alvin Bragg, I just want to give our prayers and condolences. We lost a member of the Abyssinian family, but also of the film community, the Harlem community, and that is Brother Cliff Frazier. Amazing brother, he's one of my mentors. He started the community film workshop, did a film in Africa, Countdown to Kwasini, that the Delta sorority funded with, Ossie Davis and Ruby Dee. I mean, he was just a pillar, worked with one of the directors of the Dwyer Foundation with Adamola and Voza. But I just wanted to share that his funeral will be this Saturday at the Abyssinian Baptist Church at 10 o'clock. That's Saturday the 19th. It'll be the viewing and the funeral to follow. So our condolences to the family and his daughter Aaliyah. So thank you very much. We always salute our ancestors, and this is what's called Black History Month, but we celebrate Black history and American history all year long. So without further ado, Brother Bob Law, if you would tell us a little bit about the press conference and your support and stance for DA Manhattan
Mhm.
District Attorney Alvin Bragg,
Mhm.
and why. Thank you.
First, let me thank you for attending the press conference and for doing this program as a follow-up to that conference. One of the things that I pointed out on my radio show yesterday was that the press invite, the press alert went to everybody, and everybody did get it. The New York Times sent 2 reporters. Channel 11 was there, Channel 4 was there, and a lot of other media people, both Black and white, absolutely ignored it. But everybody was made aware, and everybody was asked to attend, and they did not, but you did. And so we appreciate that. And the people, even the media that did attend, did not report what we came there for.
Absolutely.
If you watch, there's nothing in the New York Times so far, but if you watch the coverage on Channel 11 and Channel 4, they didn't respond at all. We came to make one statement. A reporter from Channel 11 asked a different question altogether. Asked Dr. Butts, how well do you know Alvin Bragg? And so he answered the question.
Right.
But we didn't come there. We were not, Dr. Butts pointed out that Alvin Bragg is a great man, good father, good husband, Sunday school teacher at Abyssinia. None of those are the reasons that we are supporting him. That's not what we came to say. I'm not supporting Alvin Bragg because he's a good husband. We're supporting him because of the political initiative that he has undertaken, and that he is now being attacked as a result of taking up that principled position. And the media that came there ignored that. Let me just read the first half of the press release.
Okay, thank you for that. And I appreciate it. And I think the point that you're making is the point of Harlem Network News, because a lot of times our media doesn't get covered, or if it does get covered, the right information doesn't get to the people. So I second that.
One of the things that happened after the district attorney instructed his prosecutors to help create a more fair and equitable judicial process, police began to attack and say that in doing that, he was anti-cop, and that he's working against, I think the mayor said that he's working against the best interests of the police. And so here's what and they had organizations, the police organizations around the country.
I'm sorry, we're getting just a little bit of scratchy background. I'm not sure what that is. And I want to make sure that everybody hears what you say, because it's extremely important. Go right ahead.
So what happened is that, and organizations, police organizations, right-wing organizations, white supremacist organizations, which are part of where many police departments have people who are in white supremacist organizations. And so they signed on to the statement that the police commissioner here in New York issued, saying that he was threatening the well-being of the police, and just began to attack him. And so we responded. And the press release, the headline on our press release says, grassroots organizations locally and nationally announce support for Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg. And then it begins, and I'll just read a part of it. It begins by saying, the New York City Police Department is the largest local law enforcement agency in the nation, with an annual overall cost of $11 billion. The police department is key to maintaining the quality of life in New York City, as well as the quality of justice. I need to repeat that. See, the police department is key to maintaining the quality of life in New York City, as well as the quality of justice. The mayor and the NYPD have the dual mission of enforcing the law and of holding accountable those officers who engage in abusive and sometimes deadly misconduct. Both missions are essential and of equal significance. And then it goes on to say, as organizations and individuals that work with and on behalf of Black youth, Black and brown young people on a daily basis, we appreciate, applaud, and stand with Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg in his effort to create a more fair and equitable judicial process in New York City. By instructing his prosecutors not to prosecute where no crime has been committed, and not to seek bail or prison time for low-level offenses and unsubstantiated accusations. We believe his effort should serve as a model for other district attorneys, judges, and law enforcement officials both in New York and other cities around the country. Our concern is that the NYPD, like the police in many other cities, have a clearly established historical pattern of unfair, abusive, and even deadly behavior when dealing with African American and Latino communities. Now, and there's more, but what the district attorney understands, and apparently the mayor and the police commissioner don't understand, is that there is a gap, that's not the right word, a breach. There is a breach between the Black community and the police department. And the breach is there because Black people don't trust the police. Black people, and many Black people, don't even expect justice. You know, if you have an issue at home, if you have a domestic issue, the unwritten rule, the silent kind of understanding in the Black community is don't call the police.
You're correct.
And Black people know that.
You're correct. And just to interject a little bit, I'm Terri Wisdom. This is Harlem Network News. And truly, the horrific incident that happened on 132nd, where the 2 police were killed, and also the person that the police was called for was killed also. And we all know, like you said, in our community, like if this mother called the police, she had no option. You know, if she didn't have to call them, she wouldn't have called them, because it was obviously maybe a mental health issue. And she had no option but to call the police. And, you know, that's my opinion in terms of just knowing our people and what happened. And the rest is a history that went a whole nother direction. So continue, Brother Bob. Thank you.
See, but there's a breach, and what's necessary is to repair the breach. And as I say, many Black people, if not most Black people, don't really even expect, wait a minute.
No problem.
Most should have turned this off before we got started, right? Yes, but most Black people don't really even expect justice. And because we understand that the problems are not just the behavior of an individual police officer. The problem is systemic. It is police officers, it is their supervisors, it is judges, it is prosecutors, it is people throughout the judicial system. Where the front page of Newsday out in Nassau County this Sunday, which is where, in Nassau and Suffolk counties, where most of these police officers in New York City live.
Okay.
And the front page of Newsday today talks about the police, a police cover-up. And the headline is the cover-up of the cover-up. And they've been doing a series of investigative articles on police misconduct. There's no mystery, there's no question that there's misconduct. And so what the district attorney, in instructing his prosecutors not to prosecute on frivolous and unsubstantiated charges, he's trying to make adjustments in the system so that the community can feel more confident and not have to be afraid that the police are going to assault because the police already know that they are going to be acquitted. He's trying to give the community a greater sense of confidence and some reason to trust the police, or not, if not the police, but to trust the judicial process. And so, and that is absolutely necessary. So you make adjustments in the process, not just buy into, we have to support the police. There's no one who has ever said, don't support the police.
Mhm.
Actually, that is just a throwaway slogan, because how do you support the police? What does that translate into in terms of a concrete action? There's no such thing as support the police, but it is a catchy phrase, and the police propaganda machinery exploits it to the max. But what the district attorney was saying is that this process needs to be adjusted to the extent that he can. He can't fix the whole judicial system, but to the extent that he can, he is going to take some steps that are going so that the community, Black community in particular, does not have to worry about whether or not this particular cop that they are dealing with in any particular incident is going to be fair or just. We don't want to wait for sensitivity training and hiring a police commissioner based on gender. We don't want to do all of that. That's meaningless. As it turns out, the woman police commissioner is no more culturally sensitive than the white police commissioner before her. And so we don't want to wait for that. We want guidelines put in place that are going to control and regulate the behavior of the police, as opposed to wait for a change of heart by the individual police officers. There are already police officers who do an excellent job. There are already police officers who are very fair and just about how they go about their business. And there are already many, many police officers who are racist and abusive, and our encounters with them have been deadly.
Absolutely.
It's not just a case of like police beating you up. Used to be back in the 50s or something, in the early 60s, you might get beat up. Now you get killed. And so that is the perception that the community has of the police department. And as I say, a major concern in the community is that a major concern in the political arena should be that Black people don't even expect justice. This district attorney is trying to create a different kind of political environment where you can, at least where he is concerned, you can and look forward to and be more hopeful for a fair and equitable judicial process. If you get stopped, let me just say one other thing. And see, part of our concern is this. As the press release points out, further, we understand that police misconduct cannot be changed or eliminated through minor adjustments within the police department. Let me come back to this. We have never said don't support the police. What we have said is don't support police misconduct. What the mayor and the police propaganda machine tries to do is to fudge those differences, is to confuse the issue and say that you're saying don't support the police. We say don't support police misconduct. Don't support the policemen. There are two policemen who raped a young woman in the precinct. We don't support that. You know, don't support misconduct, and don't have a blanket support the police campaign, because it does not recognize the dual responsibility of the quality of life and the quality of justice, and the dual responsibility that the mayor and the police department have to protect and to guarantee both of those challenges. Both missions are essential and of equal significance. And then we pointed out that the Center for Constitutional Rights cited an October 2010 report that confirmed that the NYPD engaged in a pattern of unconstitutional stops. And the main factor determining who gets stopped was ethnicity. In the 8 years between 2004 and 2012, the NYPD made 4.4 million stops under the city's stop and frisk policy. more than 80% of those stopped were Black and brown young people between the ages of 14 and 24. In 2017, 90% of those stopped and arrested were Black and Latino, while 88% of those arrested were found to be innocent of any crime or wrongdoing. And that's part of our concern, that the district attorney's directive is essentially requiring that the police use probable cause, because when they stop and frisk, they don't use probable cause.
Okay,
And
and I'm
since they
sorry,
don't use
Brother Bob, just for our audience, this is Harlem Network News. I'm Terri Wisdom, and I'm here with Brother Bob Law, iconic broadcaster, WBAI show that comes on every Saturday. And he is just giving us a breakdown. Can you explain to our audience what probable cause means? Because I want everybody to be clear on what we're talking about.
there has to be some evidence, some indication that you should suspect this particular person. They can't just be walking down the street with their hands in their pocket.
Okay,
No,
or a hood on.
right. They would have to be doing something, coming out of the building where something has just happened, running out of the building, some suspicious behavior. They can't. I know a young brother who was stopped, who is in media in New York City.
Okay.
College educated young black professional. He got stopped, and when they stopped him, there was no probable cause, and so everybody hit all the charges and the things that whatever they were bringing against him were just thrown out. That kind of stop does not put a dent in crime. And see, if you use probable cause, if you see something that is truly suspicious, then you might stop someone, and that person that you stop might actually be about to commit a crime or have committed a crime. You had some tangible reason for stopping them, but instead, the police are stopping anybody who is Black and Latino. They don't stop 14, 16-year-old. They don't stop white folk between the ages of 14 and 24. They don't stop those young people. They and those young people commit crimes as well. But they're also stopping Black kids for things like jumping over the turnstile and trying to sneak on the subway. But when they catch, I've seen this myself. I saw them catch a young white boy who was jumping over the turnstile. I've been on the subway in so long, I don't know if they still have turnstiles, but he was jumping over the turnstile, and he landed right at the foot of a cop. And he looked up and he said, "Oh," and the cop said, go back and pay." And so he just went back through the thing, the gate, and paid and got back on the subway. Black kid, it's going to jail. He's getting arrested.
Yeah, it's a different thing. And I just want to interject. It's not only kids. I don't know about the rest of New York City, but I know about here in Harlem, and they're picking up 60 and 70-year-old men. They're picking up anybody they can. I know a church member, his car, he was stopped. He was coming from putting his elderly mother to bed. And, they stopped him. And nowadays, like, you don't put your hands on the steering wheel. They take you out the car, they open up your trunk, you put your hands on the back of the trunk. And in this instance, they tried to say he had like drugs in the car, which he didn't. But it was very costly because $3,000 later and an attorney and missing a job that he had, and then having to pay some other money to get his record expunged. This is what we're talking about. So it's not only kids that they're stopping, at least in Harlem, they're stopping everybody.
And
it's
again,
the problem.
it is important to make it clear that what we're talking about and what we are pushing back against is police misconduct, not pushing back against police in general. But see, the police propaganda machine deliberately distorts what the issues actually are. So there's people started a campaign called Defund the Police. I believe that defund the police is just the wrong terminology.
And once again, like you said, it's a phrase. What does that mean? What does that mean?
But if you say defund the police, it sounds like you mean take the police money away, that the police won't have any budget, they won't have any money. Let's defund the police. And the right wing embraces that, even though they know better, even though they know it's not true. That's not at all what you were saying. But defund the police. See, the police have an $11 billion budget. They submit one budget and then they get additional money from other city agencies. So they wind up with $11 billion. Now, according to the police, crime is going up. And that's why they say defund the police is such an outrageous idea.
Right.
Because crime is going up. And how can you talk about defunding the police? The fact is, the police have never been defunded. It's just a term that people are using, and that the police propaganda.
The money is there, and the crime is still in existence. So I think the things that we're saying are very critical. And I think you and I on here as media persons is a very critical thing too, because people are not getting the clear information. You know, they may hear what's on, you know, New York One or whatever it is. It's a quick sound bite. You know, Mayor Adams is on and he's saying, oh, we're going to legislate, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. But people don't have the facts. There were two young women who were on Errol Lewis, which I'm sure not a lot of people saw them, you know, but one of them, I think her name was MK Kashan, and she's with something called justicenotfear.com. And she really laid it out, you know, in terms of all of the changes in bail reform and the fact that it's not like people are going to jump the bail or more crime is happening. I mean, she had a lot of statistics, you know, on that situation. And then there was another woman, Maria Ndai, who's a supervising attorney of the Decarceration Project. So when you listen to them, you got clarity. And then they're saying, if you take a whole bunch of people who did low-level crime and throw them in Rikers Island, this is a public safety concern. You know, they could be killed there, they could get sick there. You know, you know, this is the things that have to be thought about. And the mayor is not really addressing any of this. What do you think that's about? Why is Mayor Adams? I mean, I'm a layman, I'm a media person. I heard Errol Lewis, you know, show, and what these women said made a whole bunch of sense. So why is the mayor not listening to this common sense, as my grandmother would say? What is that about?
Well, let me just finish this point about defund the police and then come right back to your question.
Thank you. And I hope it's a good question.
See, that was your question. I want to answer you, why is the mayor not doing this? But when we talk, and the sisters who were on Errol Lewis, see, they're pointing out some essential facts that people need to be aware of. And when we say defund the police, for instance, it sounds like you're taking the money away from the police, and that sounds absurd. But what people are really saying is, out of the $11 billion budget that the police are operating with, they already have $11 billion. And they are saying that crime is going up. And the police, while people use the term defund the police have never been defunded. Their money is increased every year. And so their money is being increased, but crime is still going up according to the police. So apparently giving them more money is not helping reduce crime. And so what we're saying is that under this title of defund the police is take a small percentage of that 11 billion, just take a small percentage of that and redirect that into organizations and agencies that are also dealing with crime and violence in the street and mental health issues, and help those organizations and agencies who are underfunded take some of that police money and give a small percentage of it to agencies that are doing a better job than the police and are underfunded. And so when people brag about city council chairperson points out that she voted against defund the police, what she really did was she voted against redirecting a small percentage of the police money into underfunded agencies and organizations that are already in the street doing a better job than the police. It needs to be clear what is going on with that. And that comes right back to your question of why is the mayor not acting appropriately? And see, professional politicians are driven by their own personal ambition. They are not necessarily driven by a real mission to serve the best interests of the people. When Eric Adams was borough president, and the Democratic Party controls the politics in New York City, they give away borough presidencies. They just appoint people borough president and nobody else runs against them. They did it with Hugh and Jack, with everybody.
Right.
They gave, and they gave the borough presidency to Eric Adams. Don't know exactly why, but he had been there only for a matter of months. And he announced that he wanted to run for mayor.
Okay.
Said, but Eric, you haven't even done this job yet.
I
You
hear
haven't
you.
even been there a year. And already you're talking about what you really want is to run for mayor. And so what he's saying very clearly is he is motivated by his own personal ambition. He said that ever since he was a little boy, he wanted to run for mayor. So he's motivated by his own, or he wanted to be mayor. He's motivated by his own personal ambition, as is the case with a great many elected officials. And since they are motivated by that, they don't really have a vision that operates in the interest of the people. They try to make decisions that will establish for them a stepping stone process to the next office that they're going to run for. And so this mayor, who is probably going to announce that he wants to run for governor, this mayor is still working on building his own political platform to move his political career forward. I'm sure that's a major part of it. He's trying to make the decisions that will resonate with who he believes are the most important voters. And he doesn't seem to believe that Black people are. But the other thing is that he may not be fully understanding what we are up against and what the challenges are. And this job might be beyond his expectation. And the job might be beyond what he's actually capable of managing. This is New York City. The political barracudas live in New York City.
Absolutely.
The bankers, the corporate heads, they're not turning New York City over to Eric Adams or any mayor. And he may not have understood that. He may have thought that as mayor, you actually really are the boss. But some of it, I believe, is political ambition, personal ambition, and some of it, I believe, is some serious political naivete.
Okay, it's interesting. Just for those of you who have just joined, I'm Terri Wisdom. This is Harlem Network News, and I'm here with Brother Bob Law, broadcast icon, currently with WBAI show From the Streets. It comes on every Saturday at 11. Be sure to check it out. He always has some information, and he's always speaking truth to power. So that's very interesting, what you're saying. And, before you said it, the word naivete possibly came into my head. But the question is, what can we do from a media standpoint, from a people standpoint, to reel this mayor in and assure that he's accountable? We voted for him, or some people voted for him, or enough people voted for him to get in. I've also been reaching out to some of the other public officials. I haven't really gotten the jury on what they think and where they stand in terms of District Attorney Alvin Bragg. I did reach out to our councilwoman, our new councilwoman, Christian Richardson Jordan. I'm in the process of reaching out to Cordell Clear. I know she was on the street today helping with food, but I really want to know, what do our public officials think? Congressman Esbion, who are they standing behind and what are they representing? And what can we do because we have to do something. We can't wait till the next election. All of us could be dead by then with different circumstances that are happening. And I know that sounds extreme, but between COVID and everything else that we're dealing with, you got to take the bull by the hand. Mm-hmm. So what do you think?
See, the reality is that we always come into these kind of challenges or struggles after the fact.
I know this is what you
and we have to change that behavior. We have to start talking to our own people and start talking to the voters and not to the politicians, and start talking to our own people, not to these professional politicians, be they black, brown, or white. The politicians get away with inadequate services because we have allowed them, and we are still allowing them, to get elected and reelected without providing anything of real quality for the Black community. For instance, when you mention a politician that is out giving out food, see, that's not why we elected them. There's a process. And so they're giving out food to people who really do need the food. But there's a process that has created that need. And it is that need that needs to be addressed by policymakers. Churches, community organizations, Black associations will give out the food. But the policymaker that has been elected to office to be in a position to make changes in the condition of the people have a responsibility to do that. But instead, they are giving out food. They're giving out turkeys around holidays. Mm-hmm. That does us, in a very real sense, that does us a disservice. Look at this. You know how, I mean, maybe this will help people understand where I'm coming from with this. Mm-hmm. Because I believe that the people who do this know better. The athletes and entertainers, we applaud the athletes and entertainers when they make a major donation to a Black organization. They set up a school. They will just give a donation. They'll give a donation to a Black organization, and they'll give a lot of money. But it's always a not-for-profit. When it comes to the Black community, those Black athletes, entertainers, wealthy Black folk who make these major donations, they make the donations to not-for-profit institutions in the Black community. Those same athletes and entertainers, when they are dealing with the white community, they put it all in for-profit ventures. So very that the people on the, if the major entertainer is going to publish a book, he's going to take that book to a white publisher. He's not going to take it to Third World Press, a quality Black publishing company, or any other Black publishing company. Okay. He's going to use his celebrity status, his recognizable name, and he's going to give that book to a white publisher. That's a for-profit venture. He's going to make money. The publisher is going to make money. The people who the publisher employs are going to make money. If that entertainer is going to have an event, and even a book signing, they're going to go to a white-owned restaurant, and they're going to hire a white caterer. Whatever they do in the white community is always for-profit. For-profit empowers the people that you align yourself with, who you partner with. Not-for-profit does not empower the people that you give the donation to. If there's a charitable organization, if there's a Black organization that is feeding people, and you give them some money, they're going to spend the money to feed the people. That's what they do. But they are not in a position to change the condition of the people. You could say instead that I'm going to invest in rather than give you a grant, I'm looking for and something that we can invest in together that will create a job, that will create a business, that will create an ongoing income. That doesn't happen in when the charitable donations are given to Black people. And the people who do that, the people who manage their money of these performers and entertainers, the people who manage their money know better, because if they make sure that when their own community, among their own people, that entertainer or athlete or whoever invest. If they're going to make a movie, the entertainer or the athlete or the performer, if they're going to make a movie, everybody's going to make money from the movie, but they're going to take that to a white agent. They're going to take it to a white filmmaker. They're going to take it to a white film company. They're not going to take their superstar status and go to an independent Black filmmaker. They're not going to, if they deal with Black people, it is going to be a not-for-profit. And certainly there are some Black entertainers and not directors and filmmakers who are cutting some deals with Hollywood, but those deals are being cut with major white film companies. And it becomes a for-profit for the film company. It becomes a for-profit for the book publisher. It becomes a for-profit for the restaurateur. If the major entertainer wants to open a restaurant, he or she is going to do it with a white restaurateur as their partner. And the people who manage their money, I know of Dr. Claude Anderson taking his Powernomics plan to a prominent Black entertainer at the time and laid it out and said, this is a good deal. And the entertainer said, well, I have to show it to my wife, because his wife, who is not Black, handles his money.
Okay.
And his wife, the entertainer's wife, came back and said, I prayed on it, and God said, no, this is not a good deal.
Yeah, but we have a lot going on. This is Harlem Network News, and I'm here with Brother Bob Law, who is really sharing and expounding on our knowledge power, which is very important so that we can understand. And you know, the question is very interesting. Like you said, it's not defund the police. The police have $11 billion. It's like take some of that money and repurpose it, you know, into other things that are needed, you know, community investments, mental health, jobs, education, medical needs. And it's very interesting. The person, Maria Endai, that was the supervising attorney for the decarceration project, that's really what she had to share. But getting back to the question at hand, because we're in this deep water and really swimming without life vests, but we're swimming. What can we do at this point in time to reel in Mayor Adams, to get his attention, to let him know that he's got to listen to us? So we elected him, he works for us, and so did the other public officials. What can we do?
As I say, we come to that question very late. We're at a point where there's not anything, there's very little that we can do to get his attention. We can try to get his attention. We can make it clear to him that he's supposed to work for us. However, his position is he is working for us. Okay. His position is that what he is doing is in our best interest, whether we understand that or not. It is not a question of now at this late date, since y'all have elected him, at this late date, there's not a lot that you can do about that. What has to happen is a movement, a return to righteousness. And this is what people don't really want to get into. So they say, well, that takes too long. But if you don't do first things first, we need we need to identify people in this gubernatorial race, for instance. We need to identify progressive, quality, talented people and begin to put them in office. We need to challenge some of these incumbents who we feel are not doing what is in the interest of our people, but we don't do anything about that. And so people are running for Congress this year for re-election. People are running for governor for re-election, and we are treating it as a spectator sport. We are waiting to see who's going to announce next who's going to run for governor. We're not working at creating a gubernatorial candidate of our own. That is what we have to do. We can't continue to wait for someone to be elected and then find a way to hold their feet to the fire. We have to take a more proactive step. And we have to look at who can we run for Congress?
Okay,
And if we're not satisfied, who can we run for Congress? Who really can come from some kind of a community convention, some kind of political forum that actually produces a gubernatorial candidate? You have to do that kind of work, do that kind of research, put that kind of process in place. And if we were to do that, the existing professional politicians, that would get their attention. You say, how do we get the mayor's attention?
okay, thank you.
If we were to get someone that begins to even emerge as a candidate for governor, if we got someone who really emerged as candidates for Congress, the seats that are up for renewal right now, if we could really begin a voter consciousness movement, that would get the politicians' attention. But see, I've been struggling with this for years. People say, elect them and hold their feet to the fire. And I'm saying there's no such
that's a
thing.
term, it's always said.
There's no such thing as hold their feet to the fire. You get them, you put them in. The Mayor Adams is disappointing a lot of us. Doesn't mean anything. There's no way to hold his feet to the fire. And so what's necessary is a different kind of a level of work prior to his being, or any candidate being elected. We need to produce a candidate of our own. We need to produce somebody that comes up out of our own political process. And that's really the step. The whole idea of it's a good question, how do we get his attention? How do we get his attention? When he sees a well-organized political organization or political machine challenging some of these New York State, New York City congressional people, when he sees that machine producing somebody who's really viable as a gubernatorial candidate, that'll get his attention. It'll get the attention of him and everybody. It'll get Biden's attention. It'll get Hillary Clinton's attention. Chuck Schumer. It'll get their attention. Right now, we don't get their attention because they don't take us seriously.
Okay. What do you think? Thank you so much. I'm Terri Wisdom, and this is Harlem Network News. And I'm here with Brother Bob Law, and we're winding down. I know that in Newark, and I don't know the details, we have Mayor Ras Baraka. Do you think that that's an example of, how things can change and governments are being run from a city level? Would there be a meeting of Mayor Adams and Mayor Baraka, just in terms of sharing some things that are happening in Newark that could potentially happen in New York City?
I don't know if that kind of a meeting would ever take place, but that kind of a meeting really doesn't mean very much. Okay. See, what we need to do is and what we have done here in New York, is to develop a political agenda of our own. And we go to Baraka or Adams and not say, what are you going to do? We need to say, brothers, we have done the research. Here's what you should do.
Okay.
And for instance, in New York City, we have said, in terms of economic development, which is a key. It's a key.
The economic development is the key. And as you said, like the food lines continue. They were happening pre-COVID. They're happening after COVID. They haven't changed. And it's an economic situation. So
see, here's what we have said to the mayor, that what you should do is commit 25 to 30% of the city's procurement budget to Black businesses and developers. The comptroller has already pointed out that Black businesses get less than 1% of the city's billions of dollars in contracts. that finance and sustain other businesses around the city. Give that money. And he said that Black businesses are being denied based on race. Give that money to give 25 to 30%. And then look at what happened in Atlanta when Mayor Maynard Jackson did that in Atlanta and created a whole new economy. That's when people began to call it Hotlanta, because Maynard Jackson redirected 30% of the city's money to Black developers and Black businesses, which created hundreds of jobs, which created hundreds of new opportunities, and began to revitalize the economy in the Black community. So people know how to do that.
We have some blueprints being done.
The city of New York puts its money in 30 banks, and not all of them are in New York City. And that's some billions and billions of dollars that the city is putting into 30 banks. We say to this mayor, put some of that money in 2 or 3 Black banks, and they don't have to be in New York City. But if you put that money in a Black bank, it does the same for the Black bank that it does for the white bank. It gives them an enormous investment of money that they can now use to serve their own community. And so rather than have a meeting with them, we need to say to Baraka and to Adams, here's what you should do. As long as Mayor Baraka has been in Newark, we need to look at how much of Newark's development budget have you given to Black developers? How, you know, and when you mentioned COVID, you know, COVID created a need for a lot of products and services, even to manufacturing masks. And, you know, it created
gloves and
all of those things. And so the city doesn't manufacture anything. The city buys everything. So the city and the Health and Hospitals Corporation is buying gloves, but they made sure that they gave the contracts for those purchases to white companies. Give some of that deliberately, just as you deliberately give it to whites only, begin to give it deliberately to Black companies as well. That's how you create an economic stimulus. And so it is not really a question of just having conversations with these politicians, but the activists and the people who genuinely care about the community really need to do the research and the investigating of the issues to determine what is the best thing. Look around the country and see what is being done to revitalize white communities, revitalize Asian communities. Look and see what's going on, because they're doing it with our money. You know, Black people pay taxes like everybody else.
Absolutely.
So when the city spends money, this is money that we have contributed very much so to the city. We are in line for and entitled to our share of our money. You know, and
thank you for saying that, because as you said that, it's not like things are flying over the head, but I do know, and I speak about Harlem because that's where I am and that's what I see, and that's where I sit on the community board. But the gravelicious developers that are here, building buildings, you know, and they're buildings that no one that lives here can afford to live in. And then, you know, there's a cry about the homeless, cry about the drugs. But a lot of these developers, the tax breaks and the money that they're getting, it is our money. You know, I mean, that's just a reality. So, you know, like you said, we've got to do the research, do the education to really bring to the people. And I mean, the other situation in New York City is that we have the lowest voting turnout probably in the country, unless it's for a presidential election. And that's a problem. And that may be by design too. So certain people are going to get in because they're the ones that have people going to vote for them. So.
We share that responsibility with the political machine. We don't come out on, that's true. Also, the political machines work to discourage Black people from coming out.
Mhm.
The political machines do not conduct any kind of activity throughout the year to energize the Black vote. If you look at what the right wing is doing now, trying to build support for Trump in the next presidential election, they've got a whole movement going. They have flags and banners and posters up. They lie about everything. They're consumed by a lying culture. They even lie about the pandemic. There's a Republican politician who's calling on Biden to call off all of the precautions around the pandemic and to announce that the pandemic is over. You know, that's just crazy. But they're building a movement. They're building a movement, and we are not. And in the Black community, the voter turnout is low, but we don't hear from politicians until this re-election time. There's no voter registration going on. There's no better voter education going on. When they introduced ranked choice voting, many people said even after they voted that they didn't understand it. They don't know how this works. And there were politicians even who complained that it had not been adequately promoted. It had not been adequately explained. But whose responsibility is that? And so what I'm saying to that is that the politically conscious folk, the nationalists, the people coming out of the nationalist community really do tend to be the most politically astute, do the most research, really do look at what's going on around the world and how it relates to Black folk. That group, I believe, has to become much more engaged in electoral politics. See, that is a group that's been too hip for electoral politics. And we don't mess with none of that. That don't, I don't have a nickel in that dime. All those kind of things. We don't believe in it. We don't believe in the system. We don't believe in none of this stuff. We don't believe in the Democrats or the Republicans. And so, but that same group, if anybody coming out of the nationalist community, if they form a group, they go to politicians to ask for money. They go to the politicians still and ask for grants, and are not surprised when they don't get what is adequate, because we understand the contradictions in the system. But to understand it is insufficient if you don't act accordingly based on your level of understanding. And we have to now change our behavior, particularly as it relates to electoral politics. And so that, see, we've been saying this for years. We've said that there's a candidate for mayor. Back in the 80s, there's a candidate for mayor, and we're not down with that. They say, oh, well, listen, it's too late to do anything about it now. That's who's out there. So we got to vote now. And so we do, and get nothing. But then you come back 4 years later and they're urging you to vote for somebody else that you don't really trust. And they come with the same response. Oh yeah, well, it's, the election is 3 months from now. What are we going to do between? Why didn't you do anything? Why you thought that there was never going to be another election? Why didn't we do anything over the last 4 years? So we're at that point now where we have to stop allowing people to get in office. And then here we come with hold their feet to the fire. No such thing. What we have to do is put the right people in office, raise the money, build the machinery. We need a strong, independent Black political machine in New York City that is capable of running someone for mayor, running someone for governor, and taking that process seriously, because we do have the skills to do that. We do have the skills, and we have the money. Yeah, we could do that. We even have the money. We can raise whatever it takes. We spend a great deal of money. Black people still outspend everybody else in the world. We spend more money than anybody else in New York City. We have the money. It is a question of priorities, and our people would change their priority if they were educated. If Malcolm was still on the street corner, if Pork Chop Davis was still on 125th Street. Some of y'all don't remember Pork Chop Davis.
That's one I haven't heard. So
yeah, but well-known people, Harlem loved him. He's standing on the corner of 125th Street, but Malcolm was on the corner outdoors. there were any number of people, young people coming up through SNCC, coming up through the Black Panther Party, had a message, and our people were responding to that message, the
Absolutely.
message of self-determination, you know, and we've already demonstrated that we have the talent and the resources. When we were teenagers in the 50s, early 60s, there was a great deal of confusion about our own identity. We didn't know who we were. We didn't like the term Black. We didn't like our natural features. We didn't like our hair. And there was a store, a wig store on 125th Street called Bunny's Wigwam.
All right.
Right? And they're selling blonde wigs and yellow wigs and all that. Well, it was a group of folk right from Harlem, the African Jazz Art Society, AJAZ, with Ilombe Braith and his
Okay.
and others, his brother and others, and Robert Gums. And then they created a group of women called the Grandessa Models. Rose Nelms was one of the stars of the Grandessa Models. And they would wear their hair naturally. And they would, and they promoted natural hair and natural beauty. And then there was a movement called Black is Beautiful. It changed everything. Black people who had been ashamed of themselves were now had these big giant afros. There's a sister from Harlem, local lady from Harlem, Khadija, who started designing clothes that looked like dashikis, using dashikis to design dresses and outfits for men and women. And we changed the consciousness of our people to a point where you are wearing your hair right now in a way that came out of the Black consciousness movement. In 1955, if you wore your hair like that, they wouldn't let you out of the house.
Absolutely.
That movement.
Yeah, with the Black Power movement, and this is Harlem Network News. We're here with our brother Bob Laws, and we're speaking about a lot of things that all come together in an effort for change. And one of the things, two things as we're winding down, mainstream media is really not telling our story. So it's very, very critical that we reconnect, reinvent the Black media that is definitely going to speak truth to power, and we get on the street so that people get the information. And today, I heard the show that you had on gospel and the impact of music. And that's one of the things right now, because it's very interesting. The minister that preached, guest minister at Abyssinia, was also somehow in the sermon speaking about music and, you know, how this certain music like James Brown, I'm Black and I'm Proud, you know, Aretha Franklin talking about respect, the Fight the Powers That Be, you know, all of these kinds of music were music. Gil Scott-Heron, I went to Lincoln University with him. He was a friend. You know, these things, the revolution will not be tough. All these things push and help the people. But the music that we have now, because I know I did hear you say it was a group of women who went to Washington. It's misogynist music. Kids are listening to it because there's nothing else to listen to. So we have a whole attack that's coming from many aspects of entertainment. What are your thoughts on that? And as a closing, what would you say? Where are we? What can we do to bring up this media? And what about President Biden coming after the police shooting? What did that mean?
I'm not aware of his comment.
Yeah, no, when he came and he met with Mayor Adams
Right.
and some of the other public officials. I don't know what the full comment was, except, you know, this is not good. We're supporting the police, you know, but
Yeah.
I mean, he's never.
That is predictable. That is trending to say support the police. It's a throwaway phrase, doesn't mean anything. How exactly, people who are listening, how specifically do you support the police? What does that mean? What does that translate into in terms of concrete action? It's just a throwaway phrase that the police propaganda machine around the country has been promoting and requiring that people support the police. There's nobody who does not support the police because there's nothing you can do to not support the police. The police don't need your support. They come and go as they please. They do what they want to do. They are acquitted even when they commit crimes. There's not a courageous media other than Newsday out in Long Island that does this ongoing investigative reporting into the behavior of the police, the police department. But we need to make it clear that we're not talking about the police in general. We're talking about misconduct. We come against police misconduct, and don't let anybody confuse you around that. What I understand is that the mayor, it wasn't so much what Biden said, but that the mayor went to Biden and said, "Mr. President, I'm signing up something. I'm here on duty. You know, I'm signing up." He's pledging his allegiance to the machine, to the democratic machine, not necessarily to democracy and to fairness and justice, but to the democratic machine. It's like saying, "What do y'all want me to do?" And that's and that is because of a personal ambition. And we've raised this question about the music many times and have a campaign called Turn Off the Radio. And as we start to tell people to turn off, we had buttons that are being distributed around the country saying, "Turn it off, turn off the radio." We're talking again about music radio that is playing music that calls for the degradation of Black women and the murder of Black people. These lyrics are actually saying, the lyrics are saying, kill each other and romanticizing killing. There's a popular rapper, and see, but again, I was going to say there's a popular rapper who has a video now where he goes to hell and he lap dances with the devil. And what he is saying, you know, and so now what he is saying is that he said, people say I'm going to go to hell, so I went to hell. He kind of plays it off. He gets cutesy with it. And but he has other music where that music is demonic. He has other music also that calls for the degradation of Black people and the disrespecting of Black women. Well, we turned it off, and we have a concern for the NAACP, for instance. The NAACP is giving out image awards to entertainers, to performers who call for the murder of Black people. You know, one of the things that we need to do is start to give out some awards of our own. See, as we are protesting the NAA and the Grammys for giving out awards to people who call for the death and destruction of Black people, but they don't really care. Because in this generation, there's no sense of right and wrong. What's wrong for me is right for you. What's right for you is wrong for me. So everybody is free to do whatever it is they want to do. And so if you want to, it's called freedom of expression. But you have to understand, there's a difference between freedom and anarchy. And what we're looking at is not freedom of expression, but a kind of mindless anarchy, where any kind of value or code of behavior is being promoted, and it's only happening to Black audiences. Listen to the, if you can find the Disney, I believe, has a channel, radio channel called Kids Bop, something like that.
Okay.
If you listen to that and listen to the lyrics of the music that is being offered to white audiences, and then listen to the lyrics that are being offered to Black audiences, not only will you hear a significant difference, but you will hear the same entertainers. Drake, who uses the N-bomb, the N-word, and talks about disrespecting women. Drake has got music on the Disney Channel that doesn't talk like that. The same people who are insulting Black people when they are being marketed to white young people, they are much, much more respectful and concerned about the values and the code of behavior that they're encouraging. Thank you. Don't take my word for it. Look, check out the
we have a lot. We have a lot of work to do, and obviously we're doing the work to the best of our ability, and we have to do more. And that's really what Harlem Network News is about: getting the information to the people and helping to incite and organize the people to understand what's happening and to begin to make some change. So this is Harlem Network News. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Clubhouse, Twitter, HarlemNetworkNews.com, and soon to be Manhattan Neighborhood Network, so we can expand the conversation. And we've had a great afternoon with our iconic broadcast person, Bob Law. So if you would just give a final quick statement, and we're going to leave and start to do the work.
Well, no, that was it. That was the final statement.
I got you. Okay.
All right now.
Well, thank you very much. And
all right, thank you.
Tune in to Brother Bob Law every Saturday at 11. And I'm glad for Harlem Network News and Brother Bob Law to do this cross-pollination. We have to do more. So
all right, again, thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
All right. Okay. Bye-bye. Take care.